This is the world according to Jen and Carolyn.
So excited for this one.
This is a good one. Well,
Yeah.
you've got a lot of subject matter here.
I do.
So the perils of online dating is what this one is called. I don't even think they call it online dating anymore. That's really
It's just
antiquated.
dating.
It's just app dating, right?
Yeah.
I know. I think it's the only way or the primary
like,
way.
You met IRL?
Right? Weird. People still do that?
You left your house?
Yeah. So clearly, I know little to nothing about online or app dating. Well, I mean, I know from you. I was going to say at least in the way of personal experience.
Sure.
But I've been with my husband for over 11 years. So by the time this trend really blew up, particularly like the app-based shit, I was already off the market. But you, Carolyn, on the other hand, you're well acquainted with the good, the bad, and the ugly of this new phenomenon.
More the psychotic.
Yeah.
And the sociopathic.
You've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot.
We're going to talk today about the history of online dating, what it's become, and why there are so many weird, like, fuckboys and van dwellers out there. Yeah. So, full disclosure, we're going to be focusing on the ugly of online dating today, and we know don't be reaching out to us like I met my husband on Tinder. Like, cool bro, we know you met your husband on Tinder.
Good for you.
Yeah. Oh, good for you. We're gonna post the Christian Bale rant in the show notes.
100%. That's me.
Yeah, we get it. People have met on, apps and they're happy and shit, whatever. The medium isn't total trash, however, because there's so much hot garbage out there. This is why we're focusing on the ugly side of this shit, right?
100%.
And so I think a little history lesson is in order here.
And I didn't know any of this stuff.
I was fascinated, right?
I think it's really great.
So, the history of online dating is brought to you by eHarmony. No, eHarmony does not pay us. No one pays us. We have 0 sponsors. We are in our infancy. If you want to sponsor us, reach out.
We're grassroots podcast.
We're grassroots as fuck. No Patreons or whatever they're called. So, yeah, that's not us yet. Yet. Goals, bitches. So, let's start this. So, 1959... Stanford, woot. Students Jim Harvey.
Of course they would start this
right?
shit.
2 dudes, Jim Harvey and Phil Feeler, try their hand at matchmaking while conducting a class project for the Happy Families Planning Services.
God.
Wow, that so 50s.
So Christian.
Yeah, it sounds very Stepford.
Yeah.
Using a punch card questionnaire and an IBM 650 mainframe computer, does not compute. Harvey and Feeler matched 49 men and 49 women. I don't know how it went. This timeline didn't say. This is more smart folks. Let's go fuck up some smart kids. This is Harvard. If you could tell by my fake Boston accent, 1965. How do you like them apples? Harvard students Jeff Tarr and Von Morrill used a questionnaire and another IBM, this time a 1401, to match students based on their similarities. And apparently millions of people use this service.
Wow.
And can you imagine, like, waiting on the fucking postal service for results? Like,
No.
I will fill this out by hand. Now I will submit it by
retro.
mail. Yeah, now I will wait. What was it, like a month? 2 months? 3 months? Jesus Christ, the suspense is killing me. The good old days. 1995. So before online dating websites launched, the World Wide Web was publicly available for people to explore. And in quick succession, most of the dating websites we know today registered their official domains. They knew this was going to be the brave new world for dating. And so in 1998, email becomes an essential part of everyday life. You've got mail, son. Oh, actually, 1998 is the year that movie starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan came out.
Yes.
Right?
I never saw it, did you?
I did a long time ago, but it's got like a dead wife in it.
Oh,
and that
no,
just
that's
makes me
too
sad.
sad.
It's sad. 2000 eHarmony. Hey, they put the information I'm stealing together, so shout out, I guess. Woo! 2000 eHarmony started. 2004 Facebook. You know the shit only old people like me and Carolyn use? Yeah, that's Facebook.
I'm not really on Facebook anymore. I mean, I have a thing, but I'm more of a Instagram.
Facebook's my thing.
Okay.
I know, I am. And so, yeah, that was started as a dating app at Harvard, actually. And Zuckerberg allegedly, air quotes, stole it from some other white boys. But we're not going to touch that. The Winklevosses. Yeah. Road or something. Crew, like in a boat, water, white people stuff.
Being white people.
Yeah. I may be white, but I did not grow up that way. No. 2007, the invention of the smartphone. That changed everything, obviously, right? Or the proliferation of the smartphone. People started having these computers in their pockets. And then 2009, eHarmony again. Yeah. Capitalizing on same-sex couples. So the invention of compatible partners.
How PC is that?
Compatible partners for our LGBTQ friends. Dumb name. And then 2012, we have the advent of location-based apps. Swipe right. Is that when you like someone, you swipe right? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I swipe left all the time.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's so rare that as a female, all the dudes just pew, pew, pew. They don't even look.
Your body is programmed to just swipe left. Yeah. They're all garbage. So what makes this medium, we know where we're at. So the list stops in 2012. But, we've got Tinder, Grindr, Hinge, Bumble, a bunch of shit I ain't even heard of. Yeah, OkCupid, is that still a thing?
It still is, yeah. I had good success with OkCupid right off the bat.
Better people on OkCupid, huh?
I haven't been on now, but I ended up meeting the king of the avenues.
Oh, okay.
That we dated for a while.
That was a good long-term abusive relationship.
Yeah, really It started on OkCupid.
There you go. There you go. So, what makes this medium so shitty for folks who are looking for love and, commitment and just a good old-fashioned, normal, fucking human being to spend some time with? So, there's a lot of lies out there.
Oh, I don't know what do you think? Talking about.
Yeah. Everybody tells the truth, right?
Yeah. You would think.
You would think, but no. So survey research conducted by Media Research, Jenna Frost of Boston University and the MIT. I'm not gonna say the whole thing. Suggested about 20% of online daters admit to deception, but that's self-reported, dude. And people aren't gonna be upfront about their lies, so that number is a lot higher. And Psychology Today jumps in and is like, wait a minute, actually, a total of 53%.
So really, it's like 75%.
Yeah. 53% of people in our survey say they lied in their online dating profile. So you're right. It's probably more like 75%, right?
Yeah.
So, the numbers vary by study, but we know that the major areas of deception include things like height and weight, education level, income level, age.
I wonder what the gender bias is in that.
So guys...
I would assume guys do it more.
So guys tend to lie about things like income level and height. Women tend to lie about things like
I like
age,
sports.
Right? Yeah, that's a harmless lie.
I'm going to put a photo of me in a Giants hat so you'll take me to games. I don't know what the fuck's happening.
I lied about that one. I'll never forget. It was like when I was first talking to my husband and I was out at a bar and I was texting him from said bar and they had ESPN on and I was like, oh, ESPN is on in this bar. That's amazing. No, but I've always been a baseball fan, so we were able to connect on that. But I was like, NASCAR isn't a sport. And he was like, I agree. My roommate would disagree. Anyway, I played the game a little bit, but it wasn't so much as a lie. Yeah. So why so much bullshit? So there was a theory that came out. A person from Carnegie Mellon, this woman named Sarah Kiesler, and her colleagues, they're like, dude, computer-mediated communication by its very nature causes people to say whatever the fuck they're feeling, right? Yeah. Keyboard warrior.
I love that term.
Yeah.
A.k.a. internet troll.
Internet troll, right? Keyboard warrior. You're going to say
whatever you want.
Yeah, there's a veil of anonymity, right? And there's no visible communication gestures like raised eyebrows, which were Botox, we can't do anyway. Grimaces, eye movement, none of that. None of that. And we as human beings need that.
Chemistry, body smell.
Right. None of that. Yeah. None of that. So there's a lot of deception out there. And I think you know this about me. I worked for a dating service. So
I do know that.
the economy tanked. I was like, I need a job. This was in '08 because I'm old, or around '08, like 2009-ish. And this company that is no longer, it's defunct. It went out of business, and online dating, app dating, put it out of business. Really. I'm not going to mention the name. I don't think I could be sued.
One of the events, though.
Did you go to one of the events?
Because you needed an extra person.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
God, that was a long time ago.
No, I did not meet anyone.
No, yeah, and that's the trend, right? And so, when I was working as a professional matchmaker, we were told essentially to add in.
You are a Yenta.
I am. I'm only a half Jew, but apparently I'm like full Yenta. So we were told, like, hey, if a guy's on the shorter side, you want to, when you're just, because these were all blind dates we were setting up, you want to add like an inch or two to their height. Like, if the woman likes them, they're not going to notice. And for quote unquote older women, now I'm in the fucking older woman category, like early 40s, or like 45, whatever, we'd be told to say like, oh, they're in their early 40s.
That was considered older women?
Yeah. Yeah, we're older women.
No, we're not.
We're really not. Well, we don't feel old. But anyway, so, that I only lasted about a year there. It was a really dirty place. And honestly, before I came on, the woman who owned the place, who started the company, apparently she used to make all the female employees wear heels and makeup every day. Like, if you showed up without makeup, she'd be like, what's wrong? Are you sick?
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. She's one of those people that went, I don't want to judge because we just did an episode about plastic surgery and not judging, but like, she was one of the bad facelift people.
Oh, no.
Like, do you, girl? But, it was one of those things. And so I missed that phase, but it was a weird place that promoted this fantasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And much like online or app dating, the claims of success were often overinflated, not reflective of the reality, which is, most matches.
It's sales.
Yeah. They didn't result in relationships or even second dates. And there was way more women than there were men.
Surprise, surprise.
Right? And then, many of us who were in relationships who worked there, we were told, oh, give us a picture. Like, we need a picture of you and your partner so we can put it up in the sales office and pretend that
Oh my God, it's like Yelping your own business.
Yep, you met your partner here.
Wow.
And
so you're selling the image.
We were selling an image.
And you're selling the fantasy.
Selling the fantasy, selling the image. The saleswoman was an absolute mess. She would like go and get mini bottles of vodka before work. It was sad. She actually had a problem.
She sounds
right.
Like
she like lived on a houseboat and like fell down and broke her leg. She was wasted and on a ladder. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She would lie to people flat out. Like people of color, like black women would be like, oh, do you have a lot of black men in your membership group? Oh yeah, we've got tons. I'll be like, bitch, we have two black men. It just felt really
nasty.
It was dirty. It was a dirty business. It only lasted a year. It was wild. A lot of stories came out of that. But that brings me to this concept of like, don't believe the claims of success, right? These dating apps that claim the tests they administer are more likely to result in a soulmate, total bullshit. And here's why. This is an article I'm going to quote from.
I loved this article.
It's a great article, Scientific American. I'm going to butcher it because they go really deep into the science, which I absolutely love. It's fascinating. I'm going to gloss over some of that and just kind of pull out some of the major points. So, the study presented by these sites and apps are not upheld. These studies that they purport demonstrate that they're able to hook you up with your soulmate, I should say. They're not upheld by scientific standards, and the papers that these folks publish, they're not peer reviewed. Like, nothing about them is technical and scientific.
They lied?
Yeah. Oh wow, surprise. It's a business.
Yeah.
Right? And
not just a business, it's a multi-million-dollar business.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Probably even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people want to be happy. They want to find their soulmate. They want to find a life partner. They want to get married. And so they buy into this shit. And I feel...
Well, how will I be happy if I don't have those things? I'm joking.
God forbid I can't be happy on my own. And so In 2005, using eHarmony's own published stats, a team of credible authorities, among them, we know Phil Zimbardo, the Stanford prison test. He's the former president of the American Psychological Association. He's God in our world. Concluded in an online white paper that when eHarmony recommends someone as a compatible match, there is a 1 in 500 chance that you'll marry this person.
It's a white paper.
A white paper is like a scientific paper, like a peer-reviewed study.
White paper.
I know. Why has it got to be white?
Like a pink paper.
Right? I know.
Sorry, I just saw that. I was like,
God damn it. I don't know why it's called that. We can look into that.
Right.
So, given that eHarmony delivers about 1.5 matches a month, if you went on a date with all of them, it would take 346 dates and 19 years to reach a 50 chance. I think this means 50% chance of getting married. So
that sounds like my dating life. That's exhausting.
Right? It's exhausting. So Zimbardo's team was like, yeah, there's no evidence that, scientific psychology is able to pair individuals who will enjoy happy, lasting marriages. Like, it really doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because they're not taking things into consideration like chemistry.
Yeah.
Right? Call chemistry what you will. Like, I don't like the way you smell.
Yeah.
Like, all of that matters.
Yes.
It matters. There are people
Or
in my
family
life.
of origin.
Totally. There are people in my life who, on paper or like in real life, we have everything in common.
100%.
We get along famously. But I'm like, would I want you inside of me? Nope. Not into it.
And if that, I'm certified or I've done some Gottman level work, which is a type of couples therapy, and which is a highly researched, longitudinal, successful modality of understanding what makes love last. And the number one thing they have us ask when we do an assessment is, tell me how you met. And what I'm listening for in that couple is, was there that spark? Was there that chemistry? And so often, and it's funny because women will do this, men often don't, but it's like, what did you like about their body? And everyone gets all awkward. Like, you can hypersexualize each other. Like, I want to know.
Right.
And a dude will be like, oh, I really loved your tits. And I'm like, awesome. Yeah. And the girl will get all like, oh, and I'm like, that's a good thing though. Like, you want that attraction. You want that.
Totally.
Like, I couldn't stop looking at her eyes.
Yeah.
Or her smile. Or like the way her hair smelled. And it's like, those are all things that create admiration and chemistry, and it's
totally
very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've known a friend of mine, I was like, why didn't it work out with that chick, that woman? And he's like, I didn't like the way she smelled. And she didn't have like body odor or anything. Like, I don't know, pheromones are a thing.
Absolutely.
He was like, I wasn't into that. And I was like, oh, it makes sense. It makes total sense. Yeah. I get it. And so, when we look at online dating sucking, and again, we're focusing on the ugly here, it sucks particularly hard for women.
Yes.
And why does it suck particularly hard for women? So I was doing my research, and women daters 18 to 35 in 2020, a Pew study, also reported high occurrences of threats of physical harm.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
19% of women have fallen into this category or have felt, like they were going to be physically harmed, compared to 9% of men.
Yeah.
Right? And so also from a 2020 Pew Research study, it confirms that many women experience some form of harassment on dating sites. Women online daters aged 18 to 34, 57% said they'd received sexually explicit messages or images they hadn't asked for. Right? Like, how many times have you like connected with somebody and immediately they're like, I want to fuck your face, and
100%.
you're like, I don't know you.
How did we go from nice to meet you to, and again, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking for, it's consensual.
Right.
But the minute someone starts bringing up sex, automatically I'm like, ugh. Yeah. That's what you're looking for.
You're here for one reason.
Yeah. And again, that's fine.
Totally.
And honestly, I might be too. If you're just, you feel overwhelmed by the judgment or like not wanting to give your number out. Yeah. And then, I don't know, like, you don't sound very like fun if you're not willing to give me your number. And it's like, then fine.
If men don't realize why we as women have to be guarded and why we have to protect ourselves. That's not a man.
I've been told it doesn't bode well for our relationship if I'm not willing to communicate via text. I'm like, we're already on an app.
We can work our way up to that.
Thing, you ass.
Why should I trust? I've never met you. Why should I trust you? Why should I give you my personal number? Like, that is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would, if I were out there in the dating world, God forbid my husband drops dead and I have to go out there. Yeah.
Well, if that happens, you and I are getting married.
We're going to be heterosexual life partners. Yeah, it's
happening.
Done and done.
I'll even let you cheat. It's fine.
Yay. So Carolyn, fuckboys. Let's talk about fuckboys. So, we're not saying that there aren't plenty of women out there who are, exclusively interested in purely sexual interactions. They exist.
Sometimes
get it.
That's me.
I get it. Yeah, totally.
100%.
Totally. And I always say, like, if my husband died tomorrow, I would not be interested. I've got a child. That would be my sole focus, but I would have needs. Mm-hmm. And so it would be totally fine for me to go out, bang it out, and then come back home. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I would be 100% upfront about those intentions. Something tells me about the way online dating is structured or app dating. I have no problem with that. Mm-hmm. And so, let's define fuckboys. Carolyn, tell me what a fuckboy is.
Well, I think it's an older version of a frat boy.
Kinda, yeah. Or the same age group.
Yeah. But it's someone who sleeps around with women without any intention of having a relationship with them. And again, I would say it's kind of like your one night stand.
Yeah.
Which again, you can have mutually. I've had those and they're fine. It's wonderful. But this is someone who's out to look for that and that's all they're interested in. And they literally want to get their rocks off and then that's it.
Yeah. And would you say as an app dater that they will
say, I've tried it every way you can think of. I have waited months and then several times had sex with a guy and then never hear from him again. Where some of these dudes are in for the long game.
Yep.
It is, it has taken every iteration and it's very frustrating. Even when you sometimes I will meet someone and I do like them.
Yeah.
And you want to kind of just punch the brakes a little bit and not get too into that limbic state and not get too over into that chemistry.
Like my mom taught me. Just don't give it up right away. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can just, there's this, and again, like I said, no shame to someone who really, if that's what their intention is.
Yeah.
But, and even if it's not, and sometimes the moment takes you away, but, the difference is that I find a lot of these guys, they have, imagine, this is a heyday for men.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They have a queue.
Yep.
So even if I were to say, no, thank you, they can swipe to the next person and go out and find that.
Yep.
There's no need. And again, I kind of don't blame men as they are in that way because I do think they can be very sexually driven at times. And women can too.
Yeah.
But, there's not like, well, this might be my last chance or I don't know if I'm going to meet someone that I vibe with. You got 20 other chicks.
Totally.
So why would you play the long game with me and I'm gonna want to date you, take me to dinner and let's go do things.
Too much trouble.
Yeah.
I just want to put my...
I just want to bang one out.
Yeah, totally. No, it's true.
I need a hole.
Yes. Any port in a storm, right? Yeah. There's a woman. She's amazing. Her name is Nancy Jo Sales. I think I'm saying it right. It might be Sales. I don't know. But she wrote a book called Nothing Personal, My Secret Life in the Dating App Inferno. Mm-hmm. And she's amazing. Like, I think she writes for The New Yorker, and she wrote this incredible article for Vanity Fair entitled Tinder in the Dawn of the Dating Apocalypse.
That's
love
a great
her.
Title.
I know. I love her. But she said something that I think really resonates. Dating apps didn't invent misogyny or womanizers, but they did give straight men, unvetted men, unfettered access to women. Yes. They gave them a new sense of boldness through a seemingly endless set of options.
Yep.
They gave them the ability to decide with the flick of a finger whether a woman was hot or not, enough for them to date or have sex with. They gave them the ability to create false identities who can't be held accountable. And the last thing we need in our society, I'm sorry, hate me if you want, is for men to have even more power than they already do.
100%.
And we're seeing with these dating apps that men hold a lot of the power.
Yes.
And in the article that I referenced, the Vanity Fair article that she wrote, that Nancy wrote, quotes from actual douchebags in this article. This is what it says. So this one douchey says, guys view everything as a competition. He elaborates with his deep, reassuring voice. I love this. Who slept with the best, hottest girls? Again, nothing's changed. Carolyn and I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. How many movies were centered around getting laid, right? American Pie. Like, it was all about getting fucked and fucking hot girls.
Yes.
You know? And so this is just a different environment that is just geared toward that, right?
Yeah.
And so the one dude, the guy who said this, he's deemed as a Tinder king.
Gross.
A young man of such
Probably dated him.
right? The Tinder king, yeah. Deft text game. The ability to actually convince women to do something over text.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, and then there was another term in this article, Tinderellas.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, see, I didn't even know about that shit until I read this article.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay. And this other dude, so she's interviewing these guys. They're in a bar. What's really jarring to me is they're sitting in a bar. There's women in this bar.
Oh, they're on Tinder.
And they're just on
They're
Tinder.
on their apps. Half the time I encounter a very handsome man and I can't even get his attention.
No.
Because he's on his phone.
There's live people all around you.
Asshole.
There's potential.
I want to fuck you.
Everywhere. Yeah,
Look at
right?
me.
If you only paid me a compliment, I could be yours tonight. You know, but I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, again, I'm not out there. And so this other dude that was interviewed, he's like, I sort of play that I could be a boyfriend kind of guy in order to win them over. But then they start wanting me to care more.
God damn it.
And I just don't. And then
I just don't.
the Alex guy, the guy who's like, I am upfront about just wanting to fuck, he like chastises his boy. He's like, why would you try to lure women under false pretenses? Just be upfront.
I think some guys think it's fun.
Yeah. It's sick, right?
It's sick.
And so the article goes on to quote women who describe unsolicited and downright creepy sexual stuff from dudes. One woman describes app dating as a contest to see who cares less, and guys win a lot at caring less. That is just, maybe call me old-fashioned, but that's just disgusting.
Yeah.
That really bums me out.
But how many times have I texted you and been like, can you believe this? And you're like, are you, and or like just the type of shit that I have to deal with.
Yeah.
Or get told or get asked or get scammed.
Well, I remember you're like, oh, I was supposed to have coffee with this guy, and 5 minutes before we were supposed to meet up, he's like, forget about coffee, you just want to fuck. And I'm like, who does that?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm an old lady.
Yeah.
Apparently this is the norm. Like, my cousin right now has just decided to jump back into text date or app dating, whatever. And she is amazed, astounded, and disgusted by what's out there.
I will say, as someone who's been hopelessly single for the last 20 years, but since when I first started, I remember hearing people be like, oh, I met on Match.com or things. I'm like, oh, I don't need that yet.
Right.
Like, I can still go out. I can still meet people. And in my 20s, I did. And that was pretty easy. I was pretty easy. Never mind.
That's okay.
That's okay.
No judgment.
But then there was a point where I was like, okay, let me see what's out there. And it was actually not bad. I went on lovely dates. Two of the guys that I ended up long-term dating were pieces of shit, but met them online. And for the most part, it was lovely at the beginning. But it was a different environment. People were more interested. Yeah. It has changed.
Totally.
It has changed in the pandemic.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
But even before that, and I think now it's the equivalent of going to like the creepy, nasty nasty bar.
Yeah, totally.
It's just, that's it.
Yep.
And again, I'm sure people do meet people, but most of the time, you just look at these people and you're like, you're fake.
Yep.
You're not real.
Yep.
Or you look like you're going to do something horrible to me.
Yeah.
Or you look normal, but I never hear it. It's just, it's absolute
it's
trash
warped
now.
It's warped. I think there's, the combination, the sick synergy of just being inundated by porn.
Oh.
Yes. Anonymity, being able to hide behind a screen, the pandemic, younger folks being in a situation where they don't know how to personally interact with one another anymore. They just live in this world where like Instagram and these apps are king, right? They don't know what it's like to sit down and have a conversation with somebody organically. It's a huge problem, right? And so, look, if a dude, like right off the bat, my cousin's been sending me like screenshots, like where a dude's like, you want to fuck? She's like, no, I'm looking for that. And he's like, cool, no problem. I just want to put it out there that's the only thing I'm here for.
That.
Right. And if you change your mind and you want a good fucking, like, give me a call.
Yeah. That's
cool.
actually pretty admirable.
That is
okay
admirable.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of women out there who are like, you know what? I just want to have sex. That's all I need. Let's meet up. Let's do this. That's totally fine. Don't misrepresent.
Yes.
And also, where is the dating app for folks who solely want to have like meaningful, committed relationships? Where is that? Does that even exist?
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does, right?
I don't think it does. And I mean, before it would have been, Tinder is just for hookups.
Yeah.
And Tinder came out of, we stole that from the gays and we fucked it up.
Right. Yeah.
And, again, nothing wrong with it. But, it's very difficult when you're on even these pretend female empowerment, which I think leads into our next topic of, Bumble. It is meant to be female driven.
Yeah.
Where the woman is supposed to be in the driver's seat.
Right.
We get to, if a guy matches with us, we don't have to interact with him until we match with him.
Yeah.
The woman has to initiate the conversation, and the guy has 24 hours to initiate back.
Yeah.
That's where it ends.
Right.
That's all the control you get.
Right,
ladies.
because you're still going to get some fuckboy on the other end.
You're still going to get some. So, Jen, do you know that I was banned from Bumble for a certain amount of time?
I do. Tell a story.
Well, the details are a little rocky now. I'm a little bubbled up. But, a guy said something very sexual to me right off the bat.
Yep.
And, me, I can be a little brassy sometimes.
Sure.
I'm a little sarcastic.
Totally awesome.
And so I said, I made a joke, which didn't translate well. I said, well, great, $500 for a blowjob and $1,000 for sex. And I followed that with,
awesome.
If you're going to treat me like a prostitute, you better fucking pay me like a high-class one.
Yep.
He
sex
reported
worker.
me. Yeah, sex worker. And he reported me to Bumble. And Bumble.
What a piece of
Bumble
shit.
kicked me off. Well, he got very angry because I
of course he did.
And I thought it was fucking funny.
That is funny.
And I just figured, delete each other.
Yeah.
And I got a notice from Bumble that said I solicited sex.
Oh, come on. That's ironic given the intention of this app.
Well, I named a price.
Nobody understands sarcasm anymore, folks.
And also read what the fuck he said. Read my other thing. If you're going to treat me like a sex worker, fucking pay me like one.
Absolutely. And that leads me to my next point, which is there are a few measures in place. There are a few, but they don't go far enough to protect people, right? And so, Tinder has machine learning to detect abusive messages and language, and it asks the writer, like, hey, do you want to send this message? You might want to reconsider. Like, okay, that's great and everything, but that doesn't go far enough, right? And
you have to remember that most of these guys, and I've succumbed to it, for sure, they are able to get you to text them.
Oh, yeah.
Or let's have a FaceTime. Let's call each other. And you're able to do all of this through the app anonymously. But it is easier to do it through text. It just kind of is.
Yeah.
Not really, though. And so once you're off the app, they're off the hook.
Yeah.
That's a legal thing. And I think these guys know that.
Yep. I think that's why they're so insistent on give me your phone number, let's text, let's FaceTime. I get it.
I want to be like, here's my email, bro.
Yeah, totally.
Send me some erotica.
Old school, right? So I guess in 2020, Bumble introduced AI to blur specific images and require user consent to view them. So some platforms have introduced user verifications, where the platform matches the photos uploaded to a profile. We've been through this. We talked about this in our catfishing episode, right? Like they will scan to make sure that the image is actually you, that's great. That's one level of security, right? But
now what we know, if you're stealing someone's image and creating an email for them, you can be someone anonymous.
You really can.
Not even you.
You really can. That's the danger of the apps and the internet, etc. But in 2019, I guess there was a Columbia School of at the Columbia School of Journalism. ProPublica found that the Match Group, which owns 45 dating apps, only screens for sex offenders on its paid-for apps, not free platforms like Tinder, OkCupid,
oh my God, I didn't even think about
and
that.
Hinge, right? I get it. You meet a guy at a bar, you're not going to know if he's a fucking sex offender. Like, I'm obsessed with true crime. True crime is all about, like, meeting a guy, not exclusively, but a lot of these stories start with meeting a guy who you think is nice and normal, and he turns out to be a fucking homicidal psycho, right? So you really never know.
Yeah.
But it would be really nice if everybody had to be subjected to some sort of background check, right?
Sure. Again, that just means you haven't gotten caught.
Totally. I was just going to say, right? You could still be a piece of shit. You're just not a sex offender. Right.
It's one more step.
Exactly. But you know who is protected? Fucking men.
This morning, my friend tells me that her husband just got a $75 check, Jen. And I'm like, what the fuck? From Bumble, because he must have been on it years ago, and they filed a class action lawsuit. And these guys won $3 million, over $3 million.
Yep.
Because they were offended that their rights weren't being upheld.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yeah. A class action lawsuit accused Bumble of discriminating against male app users who identified as being interested in women because the Bumble app only allows women to send messages first. Every asshole who filed a claim got a whopping $71.68
Do they not know what the word discrimination means?
They do not.
They should be.
This
is where our legal system is disgusting.
They're the same white people who are like, affirmative action. Oh, that's racist against whites. It's like, no,
you
dummy.
Can't be racist against whites.
Right, exactly. That's a topic for another episode. But yeah, as my grandmother would say, I hope you choke on that $71.68 because men so oppressed.
Oh,
Wow. So men have even turned something that's supposed to be empowering, like Bumble, into an opportunity to complain about misandry, being discriminated against. My chair keeps making farty noises. It's not my it's not my butt. I did eat collard greens tonight, but it's my chair. So, what about online dating? What does it do to our mental health?
Yeah.
Like a lot of stuff that I was reading talked about the exacerbation of anxiety and depression, not necessarily causing it, but exacerbating it.
100%.
Yeah.
And, it's when you meet someone, like, at any point in time, in real life or online, you get excited.
Yeah.
It's exciting. You get that little spark, that chemistry, like, ooh, something could happen. And again, I talked about that fantasy. We all have this fantasy.
Yeah.
And it comes from all different kinds of parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like younger parts of ourselves, our ideal, or what we saw in our families, or maybe what we did see in our families that makes us want the opposite. What society tells us. And I'm not going to lie, up until, even turning 40 kind of shifted some of that. Mm-hmm. But, in my head, I think my friends in high school were like, oh, you're going to be the most likely to get married and have kids. Like you live and breathe that. You live and breathe relationships. And in my mind for many years, and even still in the back of it, this idea of having a husband and a family feels like, well, that will complete things.
Yeah.
And these are what these apps are selling at the end of the day.
Totally.
Is this fantasy, and it's a completely contrived fantasy of a diamond ring and a wedding and a person who will love you and feel belonged, and they exploit a normal human tendency is, I want to be loved.
Yep.
And I want to be paid attention to.
Totally.
And they exploit that to make money. Mm-hmm. And so if you are honestly going on these sites thinking they're trying to help you, I remember learning that a lot of the actual users are just avatars.
Oh, interesting.
Of computer-generated photos, and they, again, good on paper people. And oftentimes you won't get a reply back. And you're like, well, where did he go? It's made up. Or it's a past person or something that they've paid to use.
Oh, and
it's these are the things that nothing is, they're not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. Because even a matchmaker genuinely wants you to find some.
Well, reality is an illusion on these things. You don't know what's real, and you don't know what's fake.
Assume if you're here's the thing that I think is fascinating. If you're like me, and you are an authentic, good, genuine person, I live in that world. I mentioned this before. I'm fucking trusting.
Totally.
Thank God, in my life, not a lot of bad shit's happened.
Yeah.
As weird as my life has been. And so I go about the world assuming that. So why would I think someone is out to get me?
Yep.
It would never occur to me. The same reason why if I walk by an unlocked car, it would not occur to me to go through it.
Totally.
And I think most women, and I would even say most men, don't really go out seeking that.
Right.
But that's not been my experience.
Yeah.
And fuck, lately it has not been my experience. I'm a little jaded, everyone, if you can't
tell. Van dwellers, man. What about the proliferation of dudes who live in vans?
This is a pandemic thing.
Yeah.
And
I get it. It's cool to be nomadic if that's your
100%,
deal.
100%. But I would say the past 3 or 4 guys in a row have lived in vans.
Interesting.
Or had just some other weird things going on.
I get
body limbs or cancer,
right?
Seriously sad things.
Yeah.
But I'm just always really fascinated, and I think that's actually really attractive. But there's
missing limbs?
No.
Hot.
Maybe.
What's your kink? We love our listeners with missing limbs.
But I don't know, the wanderlust part of me is oh cool, van. I'll have the apartment,
right?
Have the van, we'll go off and we'll see the world.
Right.
That sounds really romantic.
Yeah.
Because I'm a dumb woman. John's where's this real estate?
I know. It's maybe we're antiquated in our thinking and society is moving in a different direction. I don't know. But there's still, at the end of the day, has to be a place for folks. I mean, I'm not single, but my friend Carolyn, who are conventional and are looking for somebody who wants a long-term partner and a family. I know there are dudes out there who want these things. Where the fuck are they?
I don't want to fuck them, though. I've met you have set me up with some lovely people.
Well, you have to also be attracted to somebody, right? And I get that, and I totally respect that. I've been married twice. My first husband, he was a great friend, wonderful human being, was not physically attracted to him, and ultimately came to the conclusion, hey, I should be with somebody that I'm actually attracted to. And then I met my second and hopefully final husband. He's the best.
Adorable.
But he's amazing. And, now I have all of the things that I was
good for
looking for. I know.
Fuck yourself.
But we didn't meet on an app. We met through friends. Yeah. And I feel so few people do that these days.
Think of half the friends you have.
Yeah.
They're married.
Yep.
Or you would never set me up with them. Or you have set me up
or I have,
I turned them down.
This is true. This is totally true. Yeah, no, it's
hard.
It is hard. It's hard for a number of reasons. And I think that it's apps have turned this into essentially a game.
Yes.
The swiping, the interaction, the way it's established, it is set up to stimulate the same parts of your brain that a fucking addictive game does.
100%.
And so you're mindlessly swiping.
Well, and that's what I would be up late at night just doing this. And then, okay, just 10 more, or I'll keep doing. And you're absolutely right, Jen, that that's also the nuance of what, I mean, again, there's been personal ads.
Right.
Like, what was the one your mom used?
Oh, my mom was on Craigslist.
No, but wasn't there
personal,
like one?
Oh, no, my mom, the gay one, it was called the Bay Times. It's still out there. My mom would go to the lesbian bar, and then she'd come home with a new edition of the Bay Times, and that's where the next girlfriend would come from. The personals.
But I think, again, the personals were always out there. These are not
and lesbians are always looking to be in relationships, so that's not even a thing.
But I even tried that too, and it didn't work out.
You picked the wrong lesbian.
Pick the wrong lesbian.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right that this is the difference. That the computer is actively working on your frontal lobe.
Yeah.
And on parts of your brain that are releasing. There is a physiological dopamine release.
Yeah.
When I would look at my phone and say, you have a match from people.
Yeah, totally.
And then I'd pick it up. Then there were times that I knew there was no match, but I would go on and check.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And it is so absolutely...
You're questioning your self-worth.
Mixed with this idea of a fantasy.
Yeah.
So it's an addiction that's feeding a fantasy, and it's this loop. And then every once in a while you do meet nice people, and it does work, of course. But sometimes you meet... some really fucked up people.
Totally. And you hit on something like online dating or app dating makes us question our self-worth.
Yes.
So if you swiped right on the perfect match, but they didn't respond, we start to assume the worst and we start to spiral. Right. It can lead to low self-esteem, low mood, anxiety. You're filling in the blanks for reasons why this person didn't respond.
Yes.
And there's a good chance there's zero truth in that.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, the other thing too that I have to make a very separate but hilarious point. I almost wanted to do a comedy routine on the patterns that you see of the types of guys. You see the dude shirtless in his bathroom.
Oh, totally.
His bathroom's all messy.
That's a fuckboy.
Yeah. Hang your towel up, bro. Or in a hotel room, or the ones at the gym.
Oh, yeah.
My personal favorites are white dudes with brown kids. Where it's like, what are you trying to communicate with that
that's a thing. I'm traveling in a developing country. I'm going to take a picture with kids of color.
Date me. Yeah. Or, before Tiger King, it was the dudes with the little baby lions and stuff. But I think Tiger King kind of ruined that. But, there's always these patterns where sometimes I just see, or it's a guy with 18 of his friends are like, which one's you? And they're like, oh, you're that one?
Yeah. I have a lot of friends. I have a social life. I want to show
Look
you
at me
that.
with my niece.
Right.
So it's always really interesting, but there's such a pattern to the kinds of photos you take, or they all have their sunglasses on or their hats, and it's creating, they're going to get what they're putting out there too. But again, it's so different now because you don't even know. Half the time you're looking at things, you're like, that's fake. Yeah. That doesn't even look real. This is a scam.
It's like the Tinder swindler.
Yes. 100%.
That's a scam. People are falling for what they see in these pictures. We're very attracted to this aesthetic. Yeah. Right? What can you show me in a series of pictures? Mm-hmm. I mentioned this in a previous episode. I dated the third guy in at a very prolific app that's predicated on image. And inherently, before this app was even a thing, I knew an app that was predicated solely on images. Yeah. I think I just gave away what app this is, but that would take off. Yeah. When this person was like, should I do this? I was like, that sounds like a winner to me, because we as humans are seduced by aesthetics.
Well, and again, you would assume when I take a selfie of myself, maybe I might put a filter on it. But in my mind, I'm like, nope, this is me. Yeah. Actually, I'm really beautiful. So I'm very happy to put this picture up. Yeah. Half of these pictures are completely Photoshopped or someone else. Totally. Or everything in between. Totally. And all of this can be manipulated. Even your FaceTime call could be manipulated. Yeah. So nothing that, I don't remember who said it, but it's like you, Barnum and Bailey, you show them what they want to see.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, you're right though. Yeah.
You give them a show. People in the show. Yeah. And people will do it. Yeah. And again, when you assume, well, but mine are real. Yeah. I'm being authentic on here. I go into that with the same belief system, and
Totally.
I might see a red flag somewhere, but it's sometimes, I mean, obviously I've been duped enough times.
Yeah.
And I would consider myself a pretty smart person.
Yeah. Well, you want to believe.
I do.
You're looking for something specific.
Yes.
And you want to believe that the person that you're communicating with, who has said they are also looking for the same thing, is
Why would they lie?
being genuine. And that's not the case. You
What
can't.
did you teach me now? What am I supposed to say?
What did I teach you?
About trust.
Don't trust.
It was
Trust no
funnier.
one, like
It was funnier.
X-Files.
It was funnier. Yeah,
I don't remember.
it.
Just Fox Mulder, trust no one. And now we've got ghosting. Like, people just disappear. Like, you think you've connected with somebody and you're like, wait, what happened to that person? And
it's hard not to take it personal.
of course. But you never know what's going on, right? Like, they could be married and their wife was like, what are you doing?
Can we take a moment just to talk about the ethical non-monogamy?
Oh, it's all over the place,
It's everywhere.
apparently.
Oh, no, you're just cheating, son.
Yeah.
But points where I've gone on dates with guys and they'll call their wife, which could just be some friend.
Totally.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you don't even know what you're doing. You're
like, that's cool, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Well, and then I've gone through with that and later found out that person did not consent. That spouse did not consent to that. And it's awful. And
it's so complicated.
Yeah.
What happened to, like, boy meets girl, boy meets boy, girl
always
meets
been
girl? Like,
complicated.
it has always been complicated, but I feel like this adds
It's
a
pretty
whole
hardcore.
new level of complication.
And self-hatred.
And self-hatred. Yeah, it's rough. Carolyn, I want you to close us out with your, like, top app dating horror story.
I'm going to say the worst one is meeting a guy and then matching with a guy, finding out that he was using a completely different identity, that he manipulated in various different ways with different women. And I only know this because I connected with several of these women.
Yeah.
And he, again, never had any intention of meeting. He told me everything I wanted to hear, completely manipulated me.
Yeah.
Again, still, I have to take ownership that I allowed that manipulation to happen, but it was very easy.
It's hard to discern.
And it happened within a week. But, again, was completely misrepresenting everything about himself, where he lived, all these things to get what he wanted.
Totally.
And then once he got what he wanted, he was gone.
Yeah.
And he disappeared. And only after, I think one of the main things I want to end with this podcast too is that there are consortiums of females that are banding together.
Yeah.
Are We Dating the Same Guy is a Facebook group that you can find by city where you are able to ask other women if they've dated this person.
Yeah.
This is how I found out that the person that I met had dated several or manipulated several other women.
Yeah.
And, I think we as women have to work together and work as a team and have this assumption that, again, it's what is it, like, the safety in numbers. And, we, as lovely as it is to have that fairy tale dream, we have to also remember that that's coming from fairy tales.
Totally.
Life is messy. Life is hard.
People lie. People can be pieces of shit. Yep.
Nothing is that easy. And if it feels too good to be true, I hate to say it, but it probably is. And I hate when my dad's right. But, so you have to check your own biological imperatives that are telling you match and procreate, because those are also what are fucking us over.
Yeah.
And so take time. Talk to your friend who will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Anytime I've ever not told Jen something.
Yep. You're withholding, bitch.
I always is because I'm like, she would tell me not to do this.
Totally.
And I know she's right.
Yeah.
And so have good friends, be checking, Google these guys, but also know that everything can be manipulated. Be suspicious.
Yep.
Don't be mean about it.
Yeah.
Don't be jaded. Don't be pessimistic.
Right.
But have your own self-confidence, your own self-respect to know your worth.
Yeah.
And go out and expect that's standard.
You have to be suspicious of people. You can't just trust at face value. Yeah. It takes...
And don't worry if you're going to be perceived as mean.
Yeah, who cares?
Or bitchy.
And I think that's part of the problem, right? And that's a whole nother episode, right?
Yeah.
How women are perceived when they assert themselves and they go with their gut and they're like, this, something about this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, go with it.
Go with it.
Go with it.
You know, I'm not trying to dissuade folks from online dating necessarily. I think it's just important to be smart.
Yeah.
And to, I mean, steel yourself, folks, ladies in particular, because you're going to connect with people that you think you have a ton in common with. They're a perfect match. And either you meet them in person or you don't, and you find out that they're a duplicitous piece of trash, right? That's not across the board, right? Yeah. My hope is that you all meet wonderful people out there.
You don't know someone, though, and they're not the perfect person.
That's exactly it. Don't just trust. I think that's a big takeaway, right? You can't just trust without validation. You know?
And that takes time.
It takes time.
And that takes... Yeah. That takes commitment, confidence, or connection, and conflict. Yeah. Those are the tenets of knowing if it's going to be a good relationship.
That makes sense.
Or, I'm sorry, a relationship that lasts. There isn't such thing as a good or bad. That is true, but...
Subjective, yeah.
Is it long-lasting? And is it authentic? Yeah. And so take your time. If this person's going to be forever, just take your time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're down with the fuckboys, cool. If you're not into that, you keep blowing them off. And I'm sure at some point, it's the law of averages. A decent human is going to come your way. But we just want folks to be aware of the deception that exists.
Do some research. Do some background.
Yes.
Literally research. Into the apps. Read these articles. They're phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Educate yourself. Always.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a big wide world out there, folks. As much as people may purport that like meeting folks in person is dead, I don't believe that to be true. I dragged Carolyn out to bars, one bar in particular, and there are plenty of men out there and they want to have conversations, and I can't, obviously, as a married person, get deep enough to figure out what it is the hell that they want, but they seem really nice. Yeah. And so don't believe the hype. Yeah. When you hear, the physical interaction, meeting at a bar, meeting at a restaurant, whatever. I don't know where the fuck people meet anymore. That's dead. It's not really dead. No. There are other alternatives to online dating. If you're finding online dating to be super skeezy, as many women do, take a break. Yeah. It's not good for your self-esteem. I think it's important to listen to yourself and be like, I don't feel good about what I'm doing. If you don't feel good, I know it's incredibly addictive because I feel the same way about Facebook. Again, old lady alert.
This way about Vampire Diaries.
And Vampire Diaries, right. I gotta watch.
Loser.
Gotta watch and I gotta fucking scroll. Shut up. And then... I think it's addictive. These things are meant to be addictive. You got to break the cycle. You got to focus on something else. And God damn it, just go outside. Meet some folks outside. Try to meet some folks outside. I know
Everyone
it's
put
hard.
Your phones down when you're outside.
Yes, yes, I know. This is your mother.
Now we're getting preachy.
This is your mother speaking.
Yeah. Wash your hands.
Right, but hang in there. Yeah. We know it's rough. Carolyn in particular knows it's rough.
I'm gonna be okay.
You're gonna be okay.
I'm gonna turn into Glenn Close from. That's my new favorite meme to send Jen.
Which one?
Glenn Close from
Fatal Attraction. Yeah. Oh yeah, don't boil my bunny. Now we're really old. If you don't get that reference, maybe you shouldn't be listening to the show.
Not.
Anyway, we wish you luck out there. Or at least Carolyn knows it's incredibly difficult.
My competition. Just kidding.
No, I'm not. And so it's tough out there. We get it. And hang in there. I found, this is stupid. This is so he's just not that into you. But I found a good dude.
She did.
Who genuinely cares about connecting and family and all of these wonderful things. Yeah. And we have an incredible friendship above all else and relationship. And it exists. There are people out there. So please don't be discouraged
don't scream
by the
love
fuckboys.
dies.
Don't scream love dies
like
at
Jen
random people on the side of the road like I used to when I was in my 20s. Yeah. Anyway, this is where our gummy kicks in and the THC is coursing through our veins.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, you know. All right, we're going to end it here, everybody. Good luck.
Bye.
We love you. Love yourselves first and foremost. Goodbye.